Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network. Yo! Oh my God!
Yeah. It's YoMMA Rap with Louis J. Gomez and Dave Smith.
Welcome to YoMMA Rap. It's your boy, Louis J. Gomez, Puerto Rican Rattlesnake, King of Things, point guard of podcasting with a very sick Dave Smith. Dave, you don't look good.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm a little under the weather, but I'll power through.
Yeah, power through, man. That sucks, dude. Sucks that you're sick, man. Also, sucked that you missed James's play this past weekend.
Too.
It was, I mean, the disappointment. The disappointment. Like when he came out, like I saw him kept on looking to see who was next to me during the play. I shit you not, dude. I have a moment actually where he looks at me, he's smiling, and you see his face drop.
Shut up.
He got in his head.
Oh man. Well, I actually do really feel bad about missing that. I'll give him a call this week. How was it?
It was great. It was incredible. My son was in Shrek the Musical, like, you know, a local production of it. And he's extremely talented. Like he's a really, really talented.
Wow, that's crazy. Was your dad talented? Where'd you get it from?
I don't know, dude. You got it from
Is there
somewhere.
talent somewhere else in your family? His mom's side. A lot of talent on his mom's side.
He can sing, he can dance, he can act. He's so present. He like became Donkey. Like he like out of
You're naming all the things you can't do.
You know, a lot of the other kids, they're just like kids. They're just sort of saying their lines. Like James became Donkey, dude. He was the youngest kid on the entire cast. It was 9 to 14 years old. He was the only 9-year-old on the cast, and he got the funniest. And technically, look, Shrek's fine, but Donkey's the role. That's the funny role you want.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, no, that's beautiful, dude. Congratulations, man.
That was great. I'll send you some videos and some pictures because I'm so proud of him. And no, he wasn't disappointed. I don't even know if that he remembered if you were supposed to come. He was sort of like in his own little world, but it was great. It was really, really nice. I got recognized by a fan in front of, like, James's teacher came, his 4th grade teacher came, and a fan came up to me, was like, are you Louis Gomez? And I saw the teacher being like, what's going on right now? I get to look like, man, it was pretty cool.
Dude, getting recognized at the right time. I remember literally, man, this might have been like my 2nd or 3rd date ever with Lauren. And we just went to this little restaurant in Manhattan. And it was kind of random. Like, I think I just looked on my phone, was like, oh, this place had really good reviews or whatever. So it was like, okay, let's go here. It's like close to where we are. And we just went to this restaurant and we eat. It was good. We had a great time. And at the end of it, the manager comes over and he goes, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to bother you. I see you like you're eating, but you're Dave Smith, right? And I was like, oh yeah. And he goes, I'm a huge fan, like diehard, like this whole thing. And he goes, food's on the house. Thank you so much for coming in here. Come back anytime you want to, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it was like, I couldn't have paid someone to just set it up better for like your like 2nd date with a chick. Anyway, really, that guy got me a family.
That's really funny. Babe, will you bring me my coffee? Thank you.
I'm so glad you have a girlfriend back in your life.
I need a coffee babe.
I don't have to pause the shows constantly. You need a nice coffee babe.
He did that on purpose, by the way.
I did. I need a coffee babe. So with her, I think it might have been our first date. I'm almost positive it was our first date. And we went to dinner, and then afterwards we went out to like a bar, just some local like bar that she knew of. And she went to the bathroom. Thanks, Mama. She went to the bathroom, and then as she's in the bathroom, the bartender's like, hey, are you Louis J. Gomez? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, dude, I'm such a fan, dude. Like, oh my God, like, it's so nice to meet you, dude. And I was like, dude, stop. What are you doing? You see him with a hot chick. I was like, pause your thought for a minute. Do this when she comes back out. He was like, oh my God. Dude, he literally, dude, he did the whole thing, dude. He acted. I told her afterwards, like a few months later, I was like, oh yeah, he came up to me beforehand, but I had him reenact it, and he nailed it, by the way, dude. He came out and he acted extra excited the second time.
And it's so on brand for you to do that too. He got a real Luis J. Gomez experience.
Okay, it was crazy. Like literally, I'm sitting at the bar with a hot chick. She gets up to go to the bathroom, and he waits. It's like he was serving us. He waited until she fucking left.
He didn't want to interrupt your conversation.
No, that is retarded. If you ever
he goes in his mind. He goes, "There's no way Luis is so vain that he'd actually be upset that I'm not doing this in front of this chick."
Well, no, I am that vain, and it's not even being that vain. I'm trying to put my best foot forward on a date, and I want to look fucking cool, dude.
Of course.
If you ever see me out with my chick, or really with any people, if you ever see me out, not only do I want you to interrupt me, I want you to go above and beyond. Do you remember the scene from Coming to America?
This is only applies to Lewis. I'm fine with it. Just
no.
Hey,
it's for all of us.
I like what you did.
Every comedian. The scene from Coming to America. In fact, Coop, pull it up. We're a multimedia platform. Pull it up. Pull up the scene from Coming to America where.
Got you.
Do you know the scene I'm talking about? Because I just said the movie, and it could be any of the scenes.
I was gonna take a guess.
The scene is just Eddie Murphy in the bathtub.
Yeah, the royal penis is clean. It's not what we're talking about. No, I'm talking about when the guy who works at the stadium recognizes him, right? And he's with his chick, and the guy like knows him as the Prince of Zimbabwe or whatever the fuck it is, or whatever fantasy country it is, and he like gets on it. Yeah. He's like, "Oh, it's so," and he's so grateful to meet him in that moment. And he's like, "Oh yeah, you know, I gave him a tip or whatever it was," and then fucking. Yeah, she's super impressed with him. So that's the scene I'm talking about, Coop.
Yeah, got it. Pull it up in a sec.
It's Zamuda, and I think Zimbabwe is actually a real country.
Zamuda is not a real country.
Yeah, but you said Zimbabwe.
Bob Zamuda. Isn't that the guy that partnered with what's his name?
Andy Kaufman, yes.
Yeah, Zamuda. It was named after Bob Zamuda.
I think it was. I'm gonna double check if I'm saying it right.
You might be saying it right. It's fine, Coop. The moment's passed. It's all good. Shout out to Yo Crate. I'm home with the $60 kilo. Without them, the show would not be possible. What an amazing card this past Saturday night. Front to back, just a really fun card. Lots and lots of finishes. Dana White afterwards came out and he said because of the holiday season, he awarded everyone on the card that got a finish a $50,000 bonus, which is pretty fucking sweet. I don't know why. Am I crazy? And this is probably not that relatable, but maybe I'm just crazy. It's not even. I'm not rich at all. Like 50,000. If I found $50,000 right now, I'd be like, whoa, this is the fucking greatest day ever. It'd be amazing, right?
Yeah,
50K right there and then. But for high level, high caliber athletes, doesn't it sort of just not sound like it's that much?
It sounds insulting. To like the idea, to like that, it's like, and also just look. I mean, look, who am I to say he runs his business the way he runs his business, and he's done an incredible job. We all owe the sport to Dana White.
Yeah,
but it's such weird like pimp shit. The way he still holds it out that there's not like some objective thing where you get this money. He's like, at my whim, I will. Well,
he also says, did you hear the press conference?
Give this?
Did you watch
it? I saw part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, he literally goes, hey, you know what? I'm in a good mood today. You're like, yeah, fuck you. It's that easy, dude. It's literally that easy for you just to hand out 50K because guess what? I could use it. Please, are you in a good mood or are you in a bad mood? What is Dana White's mood today?
Yeah.
It's sort of like they dangle this 50K, which is enough money where you're like, you really want it. For a lot of these guys, the lower level fighters especially, it might double or triple up the amount of money that they make, right? But when you hear about whatever it is, when I think of a UFC fighter, the top of the mountain, there should be a little bit more smoke and mirrors that these guys are all millionaires. I should think that they're all like fucking, it's when they just go 50,000. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember seeing, there's a clip of Conor McGregor. It's like it might be his first fight in the UFC. And he gets a big knockout and he's afterward in the post-fight interview. He's like 50 G's, baby. Like calling for a bonus. And it's like just the idea of even Conor McGregor being excited for $50,000.
It's crazy.
Is so wild. You know, and of course, look, he went on and made huge money with the company. And a lot of them do. But it is, I don't know. Yeah, there's just something about it.
I just like, as it relates, it would be like if I went to the comedy club and had the best set of the night, and then the comedy club was like, $100 bonus, baby boy. I would literally be like, sweet. That's great. I could tip extra now. And
you wouldn't even like and if he like publicly announced it even like that, you'd kind of be like, oh, go fuck yourself, dude. Like, I don't know. It would piss you off
Yeah,
someone
if,
ever
if,
went
if
like,
Patrick from the stand was like, I'm in a good mood. You know what, Gomez? You did great, extra hundo today on you in front of everybody, and he gets the applause, and everyone's like, Patrick, you're so generous. I'm like, fuck you,
Hate
you
him.
motherfucker. $100, it's nothing in the grand scheme of things. And that's really ultimately the thing. I think it sends a message to the UFC's
now, if
audience.
it was 50 grand, you'd be like, fuck you, Patrick. I will take that 50 grand. Please.
Well, no, I'm just saying as it relates to what I'm like paid compared to like for that set that night. Like,
Yeah, no,
like,
I understand what you're saying.
it's just sort of like it sends a message that
I
these
would not
guys,
like it if Gas Digital, let's say these guys fight, let's say, to try to make it a comparison, if every quarter you had a public podcast with you and Ralph, and you went, I really like Dave's numbers have been good this year. We just decided 50 G's, an extra 50 G's to Dave, blah, blah, blah. I'm in a good mood. I'm going to give Dave another 50 G's or something like that, which really is not, I don't know. That's in the same ballpark of like comparison. I think my reaction would you'd be like, dude, let's talk business behind the scenes. Not like fucking make this a thing. Like
that's sort of like that's sort of their marketing where it's, but I'm just saying that it's bad marketing. I feel like sending the message that you're paying your top athletes, the best of the best, an extra 50K. It's just like that's what you win on a cooking show on Netflix, not like the highest level athletes. If you were to beat the judges in Snack versus Cake or whatever the fuck is on Netflix, you get 50K. And I just feel like these guys invest their entire lives. And by the way, it's not a little amount of money. It truly is a lot of money. It's a salary for most people probably listening to the show. It's a year's salary. So I don't want this to come off as not relatable. I'm just saying as it relates, it sort of sends the message that the UFC doesn't pay that well.
None of us wouldn't be excited if we made 50 G's. If I got a $50,000 fucking gig or something, I'd be like, holy shit, yes, this is incredible. It's just, we're just talking about kind of the way it's done. And when it goes all the way up to the top as well, when you're talking about the guys in the main event getting a $50,000 bonus, it just doesn't feel, for as big as the UFC is, it doesn't feel that sexy. That like you're giving that sexy. If you were talking to an NBA player or something like that and said, you're getting a bonus of this season of 50 grand, it'd be like, what?
NBA players spend $50,000 on a night at a club.
Yes.
That's sort of the point, actually. That's the ultimate bigger point here. It's like other athletes, if you were like the $50,000 bonus for this NBA player who makes $25 million a year, it's like, it just sounds, once again, we can move on because I think we've sort of said all that we have to say about it. But I do think, fuck it, give them the bonus and make it a great thing. But to publicize it in a way, I think it's actually bad marketing. I think it sends the message that the UFC doesn't really pay their fighters that well. And I'm one of these people who I defend the UFC. I defend fighter pay. I defend Dana White all the time. People shit on Dana White, and I'm the first person to go, you know what, dude? It's a private business. People don't have to fight. Go fight for Bellator. Go fight for elsewhere. I'm just saying it seems like bad business for the UFC. I don't think it's necessarily even unfair to the fighters because, like I said, most of the time it's actually more money than they're even making. Did you see
your mic just cut out or switched?
Cam on, right?
Yep, it's a bad.
I hit the wire by accident.
I think what you're trying to say is that everybody needs to have a fight, bake a cake, 100 grand. Going back to your cake idea, I like it,
dude. Honestly, if I were one of these fighters, I might go on Snack versus Cake instead. It seems like a safer route, you know.
Is that a real show, by the way? Is that a real show?
No, not Snack versus Cake. It's called Snack. It's like Snack versus whatever. So with the show, they give you like a common snack. They'll give you like a Cheeto. Like now you have to recreate a Cheeto, and whoever gets closest to recreating like the common snack is the winner. So I watched the episode where they did Pringles, and but it's kind of cool. They do a whole deep dive into how difficult it is to make a Pringle, like that whatever parabola, like that shape, like it's a very specific thing, and it's like to make that by hand, it's goddamn near impossible. So that's the whole show, is watching these chefs fail at making common snacks.
So I think they deserve the money they're getting, is what you're saying.
I'm saying,
well, the chefs do for sure.
Yeah, the chefs unquestionably do. All right, Dave, real quick, we got to give a special shout out to Choq, CHOQ.com, one of our brand new sponsors on this show. Everyone during the holiday season is a little bit crazy, and Choq is a perfect all-natural supplement to add to your routine to feel a lot better about your health and the supplements that are going into your body.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone lets themselves go a little bit in the holidays, and then come the new year, it's like resolution time. Get ahead of the game. Start taking care of yourself with Choq.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, dude, my testosterone levels, look, I'm a fucking testosterone motherfucker. Let's get real, right? I'm still substantially above the average 40-year-old. But
I think you as a big estrogen guy.
No, testosterone out my tits, dude. I know I have tits, so that probably makes you think that it's an estrogen thing, but no, dude, my tits are full of testosterone, which is an amazing
manliness.
thing. If you guys, I don't know if you've had your testosterone levels checked, but I did recently have them checked, and I started taking their amazing natural testosterone boosters, all natural. It's taking sports nutrition and natural health world by storm. And I'll tell you right now, this is a fucking great product if you want clean research-based testosterone. And in my opinion, it's the best on the market. So go check them out right now. Okay. All you got to do is go to choq.com, CHOQ.com. It's a huge deal for the holidays. If you use the promo code YoMMA when you check out, you're going to save 35% off your entire order. Get those testosterone levels boosted up in a natural, healthy way. Choq.com. Use that promo code YoMMA for 35% off. All right. Where were we? Yeah. So Dana White and I guess Dana White went on Paddy Pimblett's podcast.
This was before the fight, right?
This is before the fight. Yeah. This is a few days leading up to the fight. And I guess he's having a beef with Ariel Helwani now. Did you see any of this?
Yeah, I saw some things on Twitter about it, but I don't know anything about the story.
So Paddy has Dana on, and Dana obviously he hates Ariel Helwani, and Paddy just, I don't know if he's trying to impress his boss. I don't know what he's trying to do, but he has a moment where he's like, yeah, you know what? Fuck all these journalists. He's like, fuck Ariel Helwani. He's like, he's eating off of our plates. Like he essentially saying that he's just latched on as like a leech to the MMA community and makes money off of it. And
Coop has the clip, by the way, if you want it.
Oh, you pull up the clip. Please pull up the clip. This on Paddy Pimblett's podcast. I listen to Ariel. I love Ariel Helwani, by the way. I'm a huge Ariel Helwani fan. Just the way he handles himself. You know, I've met him a couple times. He's just a good dude ultimately. And when Ariel speaks, you get the sense that there's no bullshit. It's not marketing. He's not trying to pull the wool over your eyes. None of that. Right. And when Dana White and and it's his company, he's supposed to, you get the sense that you're getting a partial truth. Right. And that's not a knock. Like I'm not completely honest about everything that goes on with all of my businesses behind the scenes. There's a lot that goes on when there's a fucking dumpster fire, you don't really advertise the dumpster fire, right? You're trying to, market yourself the best way possible. But I always have really appreciated the way that Ariel Helwani has sort of carried himself. Right. And so this is Paddy the Baddy going in on Ariel Helwani. Let's get some volume on this. You have to turn it on the computer, whoever is in charge of this right now. It's not turning it on that. So let's pause it.
Dylan, if you could figure that out.
Let's pause it. Let's not just continue to stare at a silent video.
That's
Get
a good
that volume
idea.
working. Bring it back on when we have volume. We got this, guys.
We almost made it. By the way, I don't mind Ariel Helwani, but I think the guy is kind of shady. Number one,
really,
and I've met him too. He did a video for the old Hammer Fisting, which was very nice of him. But I hated that whole issue he did with Brock Lesnar, where he revealed the thing.
Well, that's what got him out of the UFC. There was
a lot of. So basically, what he did was he leaked, right, that that Brock Lesnar was returning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before their reveal, it was the night of their pay-per-view. They had produced a trailer for the return of Brock Lesnar, and Ariel Helwani stole the scoop and fucking released it. Which, yeah, big faux pas. Big. I don't know. He's a fucking journalist. Do you want people that are in your pocket that work for you, or do you want people to report? Do a better job hiding it. If that's your big reveal.
The thing about it is that it's a little bit of like a weird area, because it's not as if if you're just a journalist, like if you're a news journalist, you're like, okay, you're there to like hold powerful people accountable. You're there to like expose corruption, or supposedly that's what a journalist should be doing, or stuff like that. But when you're covering entertainment, it's kind of like, I could understand. It's not as if there's something going on with the UFC that they're not telling the public about, and you're going to break this story to the public.
No, you're right.
They have plans to tell the public in their way. I would think the etiquette
in a more fun way, in a much more, and it actually for the MMA community and for the fans, it's way better to see the trailer, be like, oh shit, Brock's coming back.
If there
versus
was
Ariel sort of steal. Honestly, Ariel stole the scoop for likes. Right.
Yeah.
So he gets retweets. He gets the likes. If
there was a scandal going on, the UFC had busted a bunch of guys for steroids. They were trying to keep it from the public. You knew about this. You're like, no, I'm going to run this story. I get it. This was just like, it's obviously they intend to tell everyone later tonight on their terms in this cool way. And you just take it. I can understand where that's just like, come on, dude. And then I can totally understand where then Dana White goes, well, you know what? This is a fucking private company, and I don't have to let anybody here at my fucking press conference. And you know what? You're not going to be here at my press conference then. And he ultimately let him back in, but he did kick him out for a while.
Because ESPN hired him. That's why.
Yeah, ESPN hired him, and Dana White tried to get him fired. So Ariel Helwani came out and like went nuclear on this. I want to watch the Paddy the Baddy comments in just a second here. But Dana White was not happy that ESPN hired him. Okay. You know, I think that he did make a mistake there. I think that was a big faux pas. You're right. You're right. You completely changed my mind on it. You know, it was but that's as far as it really is. Like, and Ariel should have said, hey, you know what, dude, this is like, I get a lot of access and the UFC gives me a lot of access. And it's because he's talented. It's not because it's a favor or a gift. You got to sort of pick and choose the things you're going to do. So that was a fuck up on his end. You know, in my opinion, somewhat of a professional fuck up, but also not the end of the world. Just not like anything like super malicious. Did he really know that they had a package that they were releasing and they were announcing it that way? Or you just tweet it when he heard it, he got excited, you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, people make mistakes. So, all right, anyway, this is Paddy the Baddy on Ariel Helwani.
I hate all these journalists, especially the ones what earn off us. Know what I mean? Like Ariel Helwani in particular, like he loves earning money off fighters. Yeah. Like every decent job he's had, he's been sacked from. Know what I mean? Like, and now he's just a biased content creator. Yeah. Know what I mean? 100%. And he hates on you, hates on the UFC, he even hates on me now. Yeah. And it proper annoys me because he uses fighters for clicks, uses fighters to make money, and then tries to have the audacity to talk about the UFC and yourself, saying that they don't pay the fighters enough. Get your dough out, Ariel. Know what I mean? Start paying people for these interviews, what you make thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds on. And I know that now because I make money off YouTube. So I know how much he earns off YouTube, off all his interviews, what he does. You're doing it for exposure. No, you're not. You're doing it to put money in your pocket, Ariel, you little rodent.
I just sat back and let that go.
And Dana loves it. Dana loves it. All right, so that's fine. We got enough context there. What do you think, Dave? What earning money off of the fighters' backs? What do you think of that concept? Well,
overall?
Technically, in that case, we are right now as well.
Yeah.
Technically.
So that I think is stupid. I think that the idea of it, it's like, no, dude, if you want this thing to be bigger and you want the fighters to make more money,
to cover it.
Yes, there's got to be people covering it. There have to be reporters. There got to be people in the media. There got to be people getting people hyped. For that matter, you know, it's like if you're just going to look at that, yes, he is making money by talking about this shit. That's true. How many pay-per-views has Ariel Helwani hyped up and gotten people interested in buying it? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not, that's stupid. There is a somewhat of a point to saying, if Ariel is going to complain about the UFC not paying their people enough, and Ariel is sitting back making millions of dollars off this shit, why aren't you paying big for like them being on your podcast? And I do think there's
Ariel did respond to that, by the way, and his which was a great point. He said, it's not my YouTube channel. He was like, I'm contracted. I think it's MMA, like SB Nation or one of these things now. He's like, I'm paid a salary to do this. If it gets 1 million views on YouTube, it means nothing to me. If it gets 1 view on YouTube, it absolutely means nothing to me.
Okay, fair enough. But
why doesn't the publication pay
why
the fighters?
Isn't he putting pressure on them then to pay? You know, it's like when people complain about others not paying enough, they often get into these kind of areas of hypocrisy where it's kind of like, oh, all right, like, well, you may say that. Usually you're a pretty high profile person yourself who's making a lot of money. And then it's kind of like, okay, well, how much are you sharing of you know? So there's something to be said there, but in general,
I think in life you kill what you eat, right?
The idea that he's eating off of fighters is like, I think bullshit. I think that's.
I think in life, Vic, what do you want to say?
I want to add a point. Look, I get that. I don't think he should be paying for interview. People should be paying for interviews, all that stuff. But he is right on this point. I listened to the Bill Simmons podcast, and he'll go on there and he'll run down Dana. And I know he has a personal vendetta. He'll run down UFC decisions, and he is not like this unbiased person now, especially since he's gotten his personal vendetta. So to present him in the manner where he's like the straight guy that has nothing in the fight is not true. So I that's where I agree with Paddy Pimblett on that as well. And then he goes on his show for 2 hours after the Brock Lesnar thing and cries about my job and everything. And then he spent 72 minutes talking about this on his show afterwards, after the Paddy thing.
Yeah. I watch Ariel's response to it. Yeah, I think Dana White and company, I think you might be putting the cart before the horse. I think Dana White didn't like that Ariel was kind of calling things down the middle, right? He wasn't one of these, look, dude, people that want to be involved in the UFC, you don't fucking start shit talking Dana White. Simple as that. You just don't do it. And Ariel was vocal about fighter pay. He was vocal about a lot of things. And Dana was like, hey, you're not part of my business. You're like an outsider now. And then I think that's sort of what created the rift. I don't think it was like Ariel had a vendetta against UFC. I think Ariel is a massive fan of the UFC, a huge fan of the UFC and everything the UFC does. I just get a little bit more of an honest perspective than a lot of these other journalists that just want their cushy seat at the table. You have to get approved for credentials. You have to get approved for media. It's not like if you're in the media, you get to just go to the event and cover it. So I don't think that's fair to Ariel. I think Ariel is a pretty honest journalist, and I think that he's done a great job covering the sport. I think that he's one of the only there's Brett Okamoto. There's a few guys that are like known as journalists in MMA. He's one of the most respected for a reason. I think that he really is, and I think that he articulates things in a really good and fair way. So I just sort of disagree with that. I think that it's an industry. Right. So what does Paddy want? He wants people to just be fighting in an octagon somewhere. You want publications to cover it. You want YouTube channels to cover it. You want podcasts like this talking about you. You're generating a buzz. You're generating interest overall. And, it's good for the sport of mixed martial arts. I think you think about it like the only thing I'll say, and I don't want to lose this thought, is sure. Ariel likely makes more money than 90% of the UFC roster. Right. Just himself. Right. And that is not necessarily a reflection on Ariel. He shouldn't be making that money. The reflection is, once again, back on the UFC, they should be maybe paying their lower level fighters more than guys who are on fucking running YouTube channels.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily clear who should make more money. I mean, I don't know. It's like, it's a weird thing. It's like, if the question always becomes how much money you bring in, and then like what percentage of that money you negotiate for yourself to be taking out. And it's just like it's a very I don't know, this happens a lot with people, even people who I really love and admire all the time, where I feel like they get this shit wrong. As I've said before, and I don't know the details of the contract, but like, Chappelle always complaining about fucking Comedy Central and what they didn't pay him, what he was worth or whatever. And then it's like, look, it's very easy.
Well, that's also crazy. Chappelle showed his ass that he was a little bit of a psychopath at that time. You can walk away, but don't when you're making tens of millions of dollars for telling fucking dick jokes. We all do it, right? I've committed my life the same way Dave Chappelle has, right? It's not like he's better. He's more advanced. He's the GOAT, more money, right? And he makes substantially more money. But I'm saying, like, the commitment of my life, when I hear it was some more, one of those big fat black Monique. Yeah. She's like, she only got 2 million and Amy got 20 million or whatever. I'm like, shut the fuck up. When rich people start complaining about what they're not getting comparatively to other rich people, well, it's also, I just roll my eyes in a very deep and hard way.
I agree, but I'm almost saying even beyond that, it's like, it's just not, it's easy to go, well, look, Chappelle's show was this huge fucking hit. It generated all this money and I only got this much. I feel like I should have gotten more, whatever. But the truth is that before Chappelle's show, when they're making Chappelle's show, putting the Comedy Central machine behind it made it way bigger than it otherwise would have been. This is before 100%. There were internet shows. There was no, this was the comedy channel.
Yeah. And at the time, the reason they made money is because they have an ad sales department that sells millions of dollars worth of ads for that TV network. You didn't have there was no platform when Chappelle came out except for television. That was the path that we all were going down.
And because that show was such a success, and because it generated so much fucking money, and because it was so great, because of Chappelle's fucking genius, but because of that whole success, Chappelle's his rate, what he can demand going forward skyrocketed. He now, in everything he does after that, is going to be paid way more than he would have ever dreamed of being paid in everything he did before that. And a lot of it was because of that. And so it's just like, it's not as clear who's eating off who. You know, it'd be like me going like, okay, so I'm on some of the biggest shows on Gas Digital. And if I were to say like, oh, well, these guys like Coop and Natalie, they're eating off me. They're eating off the money that I bring in. But you could just see where, like, yeah, in one sense, like my shows bring in money to the network and the network pays those people. But in another sense, you're like, my show doesn't happen unless there's producers, unless there's people editing, unless there's people working on all this.
Yeah.
All of these people are needed to
the
build
free
this
market
machine.
has figured it out already.
Exactly.
And
but that's
Coop,
just the
you want to
point,
make more money, be better at your job and come to us and say, hey, dude, I am irreplaceable. Pay me more money.
Exactly. Maybe when we pull up a video clip, the sound's on the first time. I don't know. Just some ideas going forward. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot more of these networks that are necessary, where all of these people, and like, so no, it's not the core idea that Ariel is eating off the UFC and then has the nerve to criticize them. No, he's covering the sport, and he should criticize them when he thinks it's like,
especially because nobody is really criticizing them in the world of MMA media. Like, I guess there'll be an article that'll come out in, like, you know, the New Yorker, or like, you know, in a completely separate publication that has nothing to do with it, that may criticize them. But there's nobody really criticizing the UFC. The fighters don't criticize the UFC because they're afraid that if the guys who do, the Luke Rockholds, the John Fitches, the Jake Shields, those guys are fucking blacklisted. Those guys are not given the opportunities. Yeah. Rockhold just happens to be good and marketable still. So, you know, I think Dana White sort of tolerates him. But if you start questioning the practices of the UFC as a fighter, a podcaster, a broadcaster, whatever, you're fucking done. You're out. And I think that that's not good for the sport. It's not good for the fighters. It's not good for the fans. You want competition. You want, you know, public perception to be things that drive people into the right place. Like, the reason that, like, you know, I run a podcast network. I don't want podcasters that work for my network leaving and going, yeah, those guys fucking ripped us off. They weren't paid enough. We weren't, like, I don't want that. That's really bad. So I try to make things to where we can fucking pay everyone fair, or create a situation where everyone is happy and feels like it's good, but not because there's not other options. Not because nobody's afraid to say Gas Digital sucks because they're afraid they're going to be outed and not be able to fucking create. There's so many options. And the UFC, it's not a monopoly at all, but it is the fucking show. And you don't want to be on the outs with the UFC.
Which also is fair because they built that.
Can you make me another coffee? Thank you, Mama.
Yeah, Lewis is back.
I just think that I understand, and I'm not saying that he can't criticize the UFC, but there is a weird thing, especially in sports, where they invite you into their house, they give you access to all their fighters, and then there's these small things that are supposed to be surprises, and they're asking you to give them a little bit of a quid pro quo. Yeah, that's part of the business. I understand that. But the part I don't like is he does have a personal vendetta against Dana. He does go and talk about it. And then he spends, you know, as a journalist, you're supposed to kind of let these things go. You spend like 75 minutes on your show, turning it into the topic and analyzing it. You're making yourself the story. That's not.
I mean, look, dude, Dana White and Paddy Pimblett, one of the most popular fighters in the UFC right now, and then the head of the UFC go and put out a video that goes viral where they're just trashing you. They're trashing your credibility. They're trashing who you are as a person. I understand why Ariel took the time, dude. It came off a little petty. He could have rolled his eyes and been like, yeah, obviously. But no, I understand him defending himself. I really do. You know, as a podcaster, like, we're podcasting right now. We're not being journalists, right? And I think Ariel there's a distinction, but he writes for publications. He creates content for publications. He covers fights for publications. When he's on his podcast, his long form podcast, if he decides to take an hour to respond to a massively viral video, I'm not going to fault the guy for it. You know, I really
look, and we're all playing the game of like putting out content. He knows if this thing went viral, that's also a thing people are going to want to watch. So it's all kind of a fucking game. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I do think he was wrong for releasing that fucking scoop. I've seen things Ariel's done where I think he's like wrong in the way he talks to fighters and shit like that. And I do agree with Vic that I do think, yeah, he's human, and I'm sure he's very colored by all of the beef that he's had with the UFC and all of that. No one is really completely objective and neutral. That being said, I just don't. I really reject the idea that he's like eating off of the fucking UFC or something like that.
I don't reject the idea that he's eating off the UFC. He is eating off of mixed martial arts, but everyone, it's an industry. There's lighting guys who are eating off of mixed martial arts. There's a guy who puts together the posts in the fucking octagon.
Yeah, we also need all of that stuff. We also need
it all. Everything is absolutely necessary. There's not. That's my point. The reality is the agents and the managers. I shouldn't even say this because I'm about to say those are the ones who are really sort of eating, but they're necessary too. I have an agent, right? So when I go to work at a venue, right, for me, I would likely just take half the money, right? I would go, I'll just, you'll give me that, cool, let's go fucking do it. But I have an agent who goes, no. I'm going to go negotiate, and I'm not afraid of you losing this gig. I'm not emotional about it because I have 10 other clients on my roster, right? So if they walk away from the rate that I think you should be getting for this, you don't have to worry about it, Lewis. Just go fucking create. So even the managers and the agents are pretty necessary when it comes down to this, right?
It's my job. It's my job to know if my agent isn't, like, if I think he's not getting me 10% more than if he's not adding that much value, then I would fucking fire him. That's the whole point, is that he's adding more value than he charges me.
Yeah.
And like look, my only point with the other side, and let's move on and talk about like the fights. But my only point is, like, you could also argue the guy who does the lighting, you could say, oh, they're all eating off of me. No one would see this if I didn't do the lighting. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so in a sense, like, yeah.
Well, and by the way, that's what a good company does. And I've said this before about Equinox, because I worked for Equinox for years, right? And one of the things that they did, which I thought was an incredible thing, and I take this as influence as a business person now, is they instilled a sense of pride in every department. If you talked to, give me my weed. Thank you.
All this talk about eating,
I would never talk to my girlfriend that way. So, but like the front desk, if you talk to the front desk people at Equinox, they would go, this entire club runs because of me. I'm the first person you see. I'm the face of the club. I'm the spirit and heart of the club. You talk to the ad sales team, or not the ad sales team, the salespeople, like, there wouldn't be members if it wasn't for us. We are the people who, bring these people into this amazing experience. We cultivate the relationship. We make them fall in love with the club. Personal training, be like, dude, we're responsible for 80% of the revenue of this entire company. Without us, this company wouldn't. They're all right, technically, right? Like, everyone's right. But what Equinox did was, as a company, they instilled a sense of pride into every department, and everyone feels as if they are the heartbeat of this company, the heart and soul of this company, and that's why they're above and beyond everybody else. So I think the UFC, for Dana White to sit there, Dana White should almost defend it. He should be like, well, no, we need industry, we need media, we need people covering it on podcasts. Everyone that's eating off of this, we're all sort of eating off each other, and we're feeding each other, right? And look, not for nothing, I'm not even hating on Ariel Helwani for making more money than a lot of the fighters. I'm hating on the UFC for allowing MMA journalists to make more money than most of their roster. That is on them. Similarly to and I don't actually hate on this at all. So, I guess Ariana Celeste, like, it came out and they gave her salary. It was like $1.2 million a year or something like that. And fighters are like, what the fuck is this? This fucking bitch is making literally 20 times as much money as I'm making. I don't hate on it, but I do understand, if you're a fighter, I'd like, hire another hot chick. Like, redistribute 1 million of the money she's making to, even just the bottom 10% of the fighters. If you just redistribute, it would make a massive difference.
Probably just get some other chick and offer her like $200 a show and get 100%. That. Like, you could do that. So I get there's an argument there, but the UFC runs the company the way they want to.
But my real reaction is good for Ariane Celeste, for her to be able to hustle her way into that. It's not a reflection on anything except like personal responsibility. What's in front of you? Right? If you start worrying about everything else that's going on, right? That's the reason why you don't make as much money as Ariana Celeste, because you're worried about how much money Ariana Celeste is making. Well, instead of saying, what can I do to make more money than that?
And there's no, like, what is fair is very subjective. And so it's just impossible that you'll ever have any type of system where everyone is paid their fair salary because different people have different ideas about what is fair and what isn't fair. And it's unfair that some people bring in more money than other people. And it's unfair. Like, what exactly should a dentist's salary rate, the ratio of like dentist salary to teacher's salary to UFC fighter salary to fucking surgeon's salary? Like, it's like, it's impossible to actually calculate these things. And so you have to just fucking, it doesn't help anyone for you to like constantly be looking at who's making more than you and feeling like,
but is there that much variation in the dental industry in terms of pay? Like, is one dentist making 15 to show, 15 to win? The next
probably
dentist is making, I mean, I wonder how much variation. I wonder, like,
there's
the highest paid dentist versus the lowest paid dentist in the United States.
I bet it's drastic, dude, because someone who just graduated school and got their fucking degree and somebody who runs like a successful private practice are probably making
that's
like,
also different. It's being a dentist or running your own business, right? So are you an entrepreneur? Are you running a private practice? Like how it's so funny. Like my mind always goes there. Like I was talking to my son's mother and she bartends still. And she was like, yeah, there's just no real, end in bartending. There's no like, and I was like, well, yeah, if you open your own bar, there is, it's unlimited. Now you open 2 bars, 3 bars, 5 bars, 10 bars. Some people can't think that way.
Yeah.
You need to open a bar for her. You owe her that much.
Yeah, really. All right, let's talk about these fights because we are
running out of time, but not for nothing. People saw the fights. I thought there was an interesting conversation around.
I agree.
Topics. So did you think Paddy Pimblett won the fight or lost the fight? Easy peasy.
I thought he lost. But I mean, it was fairly close, and I thought that the the guy he was fighting, what's his name, really did himself no favors by he fought that third round as if he was convinced he had the fight. And he needed to just kind of stall out.
It was closer when you look at like the CompuStrikes, and it was closer than
it was a close enough fight that he should have been coming out there and fighting to go for the kill in the third round. Whatever. It's easy to judge, these guys. So I thought Paddy lost the fight. It was not like a wild robbery. You know what I mean? It was a somewhat close fight. I'd have to rewatch it. I did think Paddy lost. I'll say, honestly, let me just preface this with number one, I have enormous respect for everyone who fucking gets in a cage and fist fights for our entertainment. It's it's unbelievable what those guys go through, what they put on the line. This is why we're all such big fans, because it's the most fucking compelling thing in the world that people put everything on the line. And I really like Paddy Pimblett, and I find him entertaining and charming and all of this shit. It's become pretty clear that I just think his talent level does not justify the hype train, dude. And it's just like, it's this kind of banana situation. I've never really seen it before in MMA, where there's so much hype and it's just not justified by what's like shown in the octagon at all. And this is just not.
None of his performances have stood out as like stellar. They're exciting and fun, but it is very obvious that he's going to have a similar career to Darren Till, and he's just going to get a bunch of hype. And
not even as
they want another Michael Bisping.
Not that level though, dude. It's not even Darren Till. I mean, dude, Darren Till was smoking dudes all the way up till Jorge Masvidal. Jorge Masvidal, till he fought one of the best guys in the fucking world, and he smoked Cowboy Cerrone, and who was like a top 10 guy at the time. That's like
155er though.
Yeah, but he was a top 10 170er for a while too. I mean, I don't know, whatever. Regardless, it's still Paddy is like, he is having competitive fights with unranked guys, what I mean? Like
completely unknowns.
Yes.
And look, let's say unknown. Jared Gordon's been around for a long time. He's super durable, really, really tough.
This was a tough guy. This was a tough guy, and I thought he lost the fight. I mean, it's just and look, they're all tough guys. I'm just saying that, like, I don't see where this train is going other than to be like, I'm just not seeing anything that tells me, oh, this guy's going to make a run at a title or something like that. I don't see it.
Vic, were you going to say something? I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that Matt Brown was saying that the higher up Paddy goes in talent fight, with his opponents, he's going to be more exposed.
Oh yeah. Unquestionably.
I think so. Yeah.
Dude, Terrence McKinney's angling for that fight now. We said it back in the day when Terrence was on the show that Terrence would smoke him. After watching Paddy struggle with lower level talent, Terrence would annihilate Dober would annihilate Paddy Pimblett.
Yeah.
Paddy
Yeah.
Pimblett has major holes in his game. And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to fault him.
No.
For marketing himself, because it's not so much, it's half him, half the UFC, right? The UFC, I think, really, for the most part, they want stars, right? So if you can come out and kind of move and shake things up a little bit, the UFC will start putting a little bit of heat behind you. They'll put you on a main card. If you have that microphone in front of your face, you call it the right people, the UFC will listen. The fans will get behind it, right? The UFC does that. I think that they're very, whatever their intuitive nature for like sort of like growing fighters in a real way. I think that they're really good about that. And you're right. I do think that this is probably the first time where it really seems like they are missing the mark, where they're pushing a guy like he's the next Conor. He has Conor type hype with really limited skills. And I'm not saying that he can't get better and he can't grow into being the best in the world. If I had to guess, he's going to lose to anybody in the top 10. Anybody top 10.
I just don't. I don't see it. I don't see, from what I'm looking at here. Maybe I'm wrong, and it doesn't go the way we think here. But from what I'm looking at, it's like, oh yeah, like he's not even ready. I don't think for anything like that. And Terrence McKinney is not in the top 10, and I think he'll fucking wreck him. Like just tear through him. Yeah. So it's an interesting situation to see so much hype around this kid, and I'm just not seeing it fight wise. Not seeing anything that even close to justifies
a lot of the hype around Conor, a lot of the hype around, because I'm talking about guys that came in with hype, right? Conor, Anderson, trying to think who came.
Ronda Rousey.
That was a little different. Her hype wasn't. It was because she was a good fighter, right? But it was. She was only that good of a fighter because women's MMA just wasn't evolved enough.
But whatever it was at the time, she was dominant over all these guys.
But the it's a little different than like she was so hyped because she was a female who was somewhat attractive, who was undefeated, right? And little different. Anderson and Conor, the hype that they came in with was because of what they accomplished outside of the octagon in other organizations. It was like people knew when Anderson came in, people that were in the know knew. People knew Conor was this fucking next level talent. And Conor was always good on the mic, but Conor wasn't money money Conor the way he is now on the microphone.
He was excited about 50 G's.
Yeah, dude. Excited, So it was a little different. Paddy, I feel like his hype comes from him talking shit. 95% of it, and he's got exciting fights, and it's mixed martial arts. It's great, but it's not because people are like, holy shit, this guy is the next big thing. He's saying it. Nobody else really was like, oh, dude, he's the fucking future champion. He's the next fucking big thing. I haven't heard that from anybody really in the know, right?
Yeah, and and Conor McGregor, and Anderson Silva and Conor, they come in with this hype, and then they fucking are smoking guys.
They exceed the hype. They live beyond. They live way beyond the hype.
Like so,
Anderson became the greatest of all time. Conor became the biggest pay-per-view star ever. And honestly, not for nothing, there was a time where Conor was maybe number one pound for pound. He was when Conor was at 145.
At 145, he looked, dude. He went through and destroyed Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway. Took the Jose Aldo, who had been champ for the entirety of the division, and slept him in the first round and in his first punch. You know what I mean? Like he looked like the Michael Jordan of MMA. And Anderson Silva came in and just takes this guy Chris Lieben, who's really popular and well known, and like annihilates him. Then in his next fight takes the champion. Considered.
Well, it's so funny because now we're seeing. Now we're seeing it's so rare, right? Unless it's a flash knockout or something like that. But we just watched what's his name have a perfect fight against Holland, Hamzat.
Oh yeah, right.
Just a perfect fight, like just didn't take any damage. That was unheard of in Anderson Silva's day. When Anderson Silva came in, he fought Chris Lieben and Muay Thai fought him but didn't get touched. With a guy who's like a brawler who's just sort of known to bite down on his mouthpiece and started wailing shots. Chris Lieben was a fucking, he's gonna hit you. He's gonna take some, he's gonna hit you.
Anderson like threw 15 strikes and they all landed perfectly, didn't get touched, and just it was like a level, like a
was a video
clinic that
game.
you weren't. Yeah, and it wasn't like then Chris Lieben was known at the time as being a good striker, and it wasn't like he was a level above him or 2 levels above him. He was like
night and day difference.
Yes, like just like a whole different class.
What was the best in the world versus a top, maybe top 15? What was he was top 10 maybe at the time? He might have even been top 10.
I don't know. He might have been, yeah.
It was a way thinner division back then. You remember?
Sure. But I'm just saying this thing with Paddy Pimblett here is just different. And now you almost are deciding. This is why I think in a lot of way the Terrence McKinney fight makes sense. I think Dana White and these guys at the UFC, like, they are realists and they know what they're doing for their business bottom line. You're almost deciding like, okay, who are you going to pass Paddy's hype on to? Or who are you going to at least pass whatever you can of that? And Terrence seems like a guy to do it with, like that guy actually looks like he could be like a star for a long time to come.
He's awesome.
And so why not give it to him?
It is interesting. Yeah, they have to make the decision. They know that it's not Paddy. They know that Paddy's not going to be champion. That's really interesting. Yeah. They know, as if we know, Dana White and company know, right? So we could all sit here and pretend. So who are they going to go? All right, well, we need to take this marketability. It's a marketing machine. Paddy's done all this work. And now a guy like Terrence can come in and go, mine. Thank you.
Now,
appreciate all that work you put in. Appreciate all that 10 years of you building yourself up. Mine now.
Well, this is why this is why they tried to match Hamzat up with Nate. You know what I mean? To go like, okay, well, if he's leaving, but he's this humongous star, who can we make off of him? And they didn't, they don't go, their first pick wasn't Tony Ferguson. They did that to save the card, but why wouldn't they just, a lot of people after that fight fell apart, they were like, oh, well, the Tony Ferguson fight makes more sense anyway, which is, there's a strong argument for that. But it's like, well, the UFC isn't going like, hey, let's take all of this hype and give it to like an older vet who's on the way down. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not,
has one or two fights left in him.
Yeah, like what they want is to give it to like their next guy who they can eat off of for a long time, And so that's and I don't say that in like a negative sense, like eat off of, but you know what I mean. And so that's almost the thing now. And Terrence McKinney seems like almost the perfect candidate for that. Like, what do you want? You want some vet who's not really going to make a run themselves to just take out Paddy Pimblett, which will end up happening if you give him someone like that. Yeah. So why not give it to a young star?
All right, let's talk about the main event real quick. We got a little bit of time left here. Jan,
were you surprised? Can I start this by asking you? Were you surprised? Because I was, that Dana White was so down on the main event. I kept talking about what a terrible fight it was. I've seen terrible fights before. I did not think that was a terrible fight. I actually found it to be. I thought it was a really interesting fight. It wasn't like the most action-packed fight ever, but it was. I don't know. There were really interesting moments in it.
I think Dana White, at that point, when you catch him in a post-fight press conference, it's like catching a guy after they get knocked out. You shouldn't interview him, right? So Dana White, he's pissed off. Paddy Pimblett, everyone online is going, dude, UFC is fucking, they're the judges are fucking calling it for Paddy. It's a robbery. It's on purpose. He's being accused essentially of cheating for his fighters, which I don't believe that's the case.
No.
However, more often than not, when the guy who's being hyped is in a close decision with another guy, that guy who's being hyped wins. I would love to see the data on it. I'm not a journalist. I wish that our team, I know that we'll never get it done. I know our team will, but if somebody out there could just get it done, fucking let me know the amount of times where the hyped guy is in a close decision and it doesn't go to him.
I'd also, also Dana White's probably pissed off about the result of the main event because he wanted to make a new champion and now he doesn't get a new champion. So
well, then it goes into, so he's salty about that. He's like, fuck, dude. He's like, and he's feeling the heat. He's checking his Twitter. He knows what's going on. Then the main event comes in and it's a fucking, especially compared to the rest of the card, which is so many finishes, a lackluster main event. Which ends up being a fucking split draw. No champion is determined. It's a pointless essentially endeavor. He was just salty after that fight, and probably a little bit unfairly to Blachowicz and Ankalaev.
It was the Luis J. Gomez of decisions.
Okay, I don't get it. What do you mean?
Just sometimes your life is just a draw, man. You're just not winning, you're not losing, you're just cheating.
I thought
my life really is a split draw. But then I was supposed to get knocked out in a minute.
Yeah, no, you did pretty good. It's true. That is really true. I thought it wasn't like the most exciting fight I've ever seen, but I actually thought it was a really interesting fight. I thought Ankalaev was really impressive that he came back after having both his legs severely compromised, looking like he was just kind of dead in the water, and then came back. I thought he did enough to win the fight, but it was close. I don't know what to say. I don't really care that a champion wasn't crowned, because it's kind of, these things aren't real. Once it goes like this, it's almost not real until there's a few title defenses. You know what I mean?
It's
like,
not real anyway. It's not. None of it's real.
No, but I mean, like, no, of course, but just the way
it is just a piece of metal around a dude's waist in the world. I mean, if you were to talk to the gods right now and they're peering their eye down on Earth, it doesn't matter.
They go, "This is silly."
What a silly thing these. It's like when you watch two ants fighting over a piece of like a breadcrumb like on the ground, but like, that's interesting. Look at these silly ants.
That's more tangible. Like, one of them's going to eat and the other one's going to be hungry. This is just
one's going to eat, one's going to be hungry. You know, it's an analogy for the fighter lifestyle, my friend.
Yeah, I guess so. But anyway, but now that they just pick a different, it's so random to go, okay, so we're just going to make a different group of two fighters the champion now,
because those are the best. Who's the best? Fuckface. Are these two? If you're right, logically they should run this back. If these guys were, but that wasn't the original. The original fight was Teixeira versus Blachowicz, right?
Yeah. No, the original fight was a rematch.
Oh, Prohaska versus Teixeira.
And then he evidently got real fucked up shoulder. He's out like for a while.
Yeah.
So he's there. That's the whole thing with that.
And so then Teixeira didn't want to fight Ankalaev. That's what it was. He said he wouldn't have been ready. Or
he said he couldn't like change the opponent on short notice or something like that. So instead they went this. I don't know. Whatever. The whole division's kind of up in the air right now. It's not as if this was very clearly the 1 and 2 guy in the division fighting. So, we'll see.
I mean, it's Prohaska. Look, the reality is he's out. He's the guy. We don't really. It should just be an interim title. It should. That's what it should be. They throw interim titles for no reason. They throw them around like it's nothing. And then the time where it almost should be, you're like, well, no, we know the best guy is injured. We know that.
Well, the reason
I know he's going to be out for a year. I said this for a long time. There should be clear-cut criteria. I think that if you are out for 1 year, you're automatically stripped of your title, right? The interim guy, you give the interim guy or his next win is that next fight, whoever has the interim title, that person is awarded the title. But it's after 1 year from the date, and they could just make it clear as possible. It's such an easy thing. Instead of sort of arbitrarily choosing, oh, well, these guys are just popular, we want to throw a title on the poster.
Reason they don't want to do that is because they want to be able to, in each situation, do what they think's best for the company, and they don't want to be constrained by, we already agreed to this rule or something like that.
What's beautiful about this sport is that no matter which way the wind blows, it's sort of, this is why the UFC is great, and they really almost shouldn't overthink the matchmaking or any of this stuff. Just put the best guys up against the best guys. It's interesting enough of a sport that it will work itself out.
Yeah,
we will end up with the most compelling matchups. We will end up with the best sport possible. We are only removed. We're talking about Anderson Silva, right? We're only a decade removed from the UFC throwing the title up for grabs on The Ultimate Fighter on a reality show with guys who don't deserve a title. We're only a decade removed from Travis Lutter fight. Well, he missed weight, but he won The Ultimate Fighter. Right. Matt Serra won The Ultimate Fighter. That was the prize back in the day, as they were giving out fucking title shots. So don't sit here and act like, I just can't, I sort of roll my eyes a little bit when we're talking about like interim titles and the best in the world and any of this other stuff. It's like,
I'd like to think that God, though, does put title belts into contention if he has to choose.
It's not at all like Lewis thinks. God's up there going, this is for the title. This is huge.
Like, if it's between me and you, Lewis, and it's close, he's like, well, Lewis has got a blue belt. I got to take Lewis. And there you go. Even, so start believing.
God loves arbitrary titles.
Love it. All right, let's wrap this one up. Shout out to YoKratom.com for supporting today's show. Go support them. Home of the $60 kilo. We'll be back next Monday, our normal time, 6 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Gas Digital Network. Subscribe to Gas Digital. Use the promo code YoMMA for a 7-day free trial. I think there's like 30 episodes of this show that you can't get anywhere else that are behind the paywall, but obviously all the Legion of Skanks, Part of the Problem, Real Ass Podcast. So many incredible shows here on the Gas Digital Network. All ad-free, uncensored, and in one place. Live dates coming up. I'll be in Toronto this weekend with the great Aaron Berg. that me and Dave Smith, the Comedy Store, just about sold out. Just a handful of tickets left, about 20 tickets left for the Comedy Store New Year's Eve. Myself, Dave Smith, Karen Fia, and Zach Amico, Crack Amico, Colin Turrell. What a fucking lineup. And then I'm going all over the place: Washington, D.C., Phoenix, Arizona, Cuyahoga Falls, Minneapolis, and many, many, many more places, all coming up in this winter and spring.
All right, hell yeah, dude. Yeah, I'll see you out there on New Year's at the Comedy Store. I got a bunch of stuff coming up in 2023. ComicDaveSmith.com for all the ticket links. That's all.
All right, we're out. Thanks. Peace.
Yo! Yo!